Dan Dickau, Scorebook Live, Washington, here to recap the 2020 edition of the Hardwood Classic. We're going to talk all levels, but first we're going to start at 4A. It was a very impressive performance and a very impressive run by a number of teams, but in the end, Mount Si, the favorite coming into the season, ended up cutting down the nets in Tacoma, led by MVP of the state tournament, Jabe Mullins, who's off to St. Mary's, as well as all-tournament team Tyler Patterson, who will continue his career at Montana State a season from now. But overall, it was a really fun state tournament to follow. As mentioned, Mount Si won it. They're a team that had some struggles early in the season. I think a lot of it was due to the expectations. A little bit was due to going out of state, playing at Christmas time tournaments. Since December 27th, they only had one loss. That one loss was in the playoffs to Woodinville. And there was comments made around the program that kind of really sparked the fuel for the state tournament, knowing that they didn't play their best. And if they were going to reach their ultimate goal, win a state tournament, they were going to have to get everybody on the same page, and they were going to have to execute. That's exactly what happened as they ran through the state tournament. It was an impressive championship win, 58-47 over Central Valley. A couple other things that really caught our Scorebook Live team's eye at the 4A level at the state tournament. Sumner, pretty fun group to watch, 21-8 on the season. But the most impressive thing is the fact that first time in the state tournament in close to 50 years, they went in the quarterfinals, and head coach Jake Jackson found our own Andy Bueller and let him know that we provided some fuel for that first game at state where they beat Gonzaga Prep. So, Coach, glad to be of service. Congrats on getting back to the state tournament in a big win. Look forward to hopefully having you guys back at the state tournament a season from now. A couple other things that really were exciting and interesting. Central Valley from the GSL over here in Spokane was a team that not a lot of people knew about on the west side of the state. And part of the reason is one, they're in Spokane. Two, the other reason is they don't necessarily have a dominant player. They've got some really good pieces, but nobody who, if you look at the box scores, if you look at stats, just jumps out at you and says, hey, we got to shut this guy down. They're a very well-coached group. They're a very balanced group, led by point guard Jay Simmons, who I think does his best work on the defensive end of the floor and setting the tone. But they had an impressive run, got all the way to the state title game, and fell just a little bit short. The two other teams, the two other kind of storylines that were really interesting to follow throughout the week were Union and Glacier Peak. And for both reasons, the fact that they were both undefeated going into the state tournament. Union had beat some really good teams through the course of the year, Mount Si being one of them. At Mount Si, they beat Gonzaga Prep. Where Glacier Peak was a little bit of an unknown, a little bit north of Seattle. People, until deep into the season, even in the coaches poll, they weren't getting a lot of votes, but they continued to improve. They stayed undefeated, and they began to really creep up in the rankings at the coaches poll. So those teams, unfortunately for each of them, they both lost in the state semifinals, which then created a matchup of previously unbeaten teams, one-loss teams. And you hate to see a team have such success throughout the whole entire year and then lose their final two games, which is exactly what happened to Glacier Peak. But tremendous season by them. And like I mentioned, season ended on a loss because Union and Tanner Toolson and Caden Horn had a really nice game in the semifinals to propel Union to the third place finish. But all in all, at the 4A level this season, it was all about Mount Si. Coach Jason Griffith, talked to him a number of times in the preseason. He really loved the makeup of his ball club. He felt that because they fell just a little bit short a season ago in the title game loss to Gonzaga Prep, that they had the fuel, they had the motivation, they had the talent, they had the roster to get back and hopefully avenge a loss from a season ago. Jabe Mullins with the leadership, Tyler Patterson with the leadership, they got it done. So congrats to the Mount Si Wildcats, your 2020 4A state champions. For Scorebook Live Washington, I'm Dan Dickau.